How's it going, guys? Cody, we're back again. We're dropping yet another video. This video, guys, is quite embarrassing for me. And the reason is because, as you can see from the title, it's about the times I was homeless. And without a shadow of a doubt, the hardest thing I've ever had to overcome. I knew I was strong as a person, but this took me to another level. And I've technically been homeless 3 times, but I only class it as twice because the third time wasn't actually that bad. The first time was horrific, really fucking bad. Now, as you guys have seen, I've touched base with, I had a bad childhood, right? Really bad childhood. My nana was my idol growing up. I was bullied at school relentlessly. I was the black sheep at home. I was locked in my room, had to urinate and defecate in a bucket, had my curtains nailed to the wall. I was starved, mind games played on me and stuff like that, right? I used to look at that as a bad thing. I used to really hate that, but I actually embrace it. And everything I've ever been through in my life has actually led me to today, to my YouTube channel, to the great people I've met, to the dickheads that I've also met in my life. It's all character building, but I used to, everything that I'd gone through, I used to drag around like a ball and chain. I couldn't look forward in my life because I was always looking back. I'd live in the past. I was angry. I was bitter. I was pissed off, right? Because my past was dragging me back. I literally I couldn't walk forward because I was so occupied with what had gone on before, things that I couldn't change. And then as you grow older and you process the information, you look and you think, I can't change yesterday. I can't change 6 months ago. Can't change 5 minutes ago. Once I come to terms with what I've been through in my life, right, I actually looked at it in a positive light and thought, you know what? If I didn't go through all that, I wouldn't be who I am today. I wouldn't be where I am today. I wouldn't have the fucking mad, crazy memories that I've got, both good, bad, sad, fucking hilarious, dangerous, violent, whatever it might be, right? So what I'm trying to say to you guys in layman's terms before I start the video is everything happens in life for a reason, right? I don't know if I believe that our lives are planned out for us. I don't believe that, but I believe everything happens for a reason, right? The things that I have been through, I've been through a lot more than a lot of people, and what I would have been through could have killed a lot of people. There's other people that have gone through a lot more than me, but I've definitely been through it 1,000,000%. And like I said, literally, to processing the information and accepting what had happened in my life, I set myself free. My past used to walk me like a dog on a lead, and I couldn't control it. It controlled me. Once I processed what had happened and I couldn't change it, I then walked my past on a lead. Now again, it barks and it shows its ugly face and it'll pop up and bite me on the arse, right? But I am so far removed and better person than I used to be. Anyway, so when I was homeless, right, this is a very, very hard video for me to do in the sense of I'm reliving some horrible memories, and just some of the darkest times in my life that nearly brought me to the brink of suicide. All right. Right, let's do it. Right, so when I was kicked out of the army for my mental health, right, I'd lost the plot, right? I'd had a family breakdown with my family, right? I was kicked out of the army. I had a couple of £100. My money, I didn't save my money. I didn't invest my money. Money was just coloured bits of paper to me. Never had it. Just used to get paid and spend it. I was put on a commanding officer's warning whilst I was in the military. I broke it. They applied for my discharge. It was accepted, backed up with psychiatric reports and everything like that. I was kicked out. I flew back to the UK. I had no real friends or anything in the UK because when from school I joined the army. That was my thing. And like I said, I didn't save money. I had nowhere to live over here. I was based in Gütersloh at Mansa Barracks, which is obviously all the British Army have left Germany now. But I started with 127 Dragon Battery. I then moved on to 17 Karuna Battery at 26 Regiment Royal Artillery, the West Midlands Gunners, Mansa Barracks, Gütersloh. So when I flew back to the UK, I had nowhere to go. I ended up sleeping, I think the first night or two, in Haywood, right? And there's a memorial gardens in Haywood. And like, the thing is, the money that I had, a couple of £100, right? I had to be savvy and thought, well, if I go and get a hotel at £80 a night, £70 a night, 60, 70, 80, £90 a night, I'm only going to be able to sleep for about six days, less than that, and then I'm going to be screwed. So I was trying to be savvy with my money. So I just kept my money and everything. And originally, I'd slept in this outside power station. I just had a backpack with all my clothes in it. That was it. I had nothing to show for my life. And one of these nights, it was a weekend, right? And I was asleep on a bench in this memorial gardens, right? Wasn't ideal. I'm a very light sleeper anyway. And these pissheads come through, right? And he was like pissed up and he started shouting something about me being homeless, right? Which, like I said, it was the reality of my situation. It was embarrassing. It was what it was. And he was trying to pick a fight with me. And I was very fiery and very explosive. And I battered one of the lads. And the other was like, oh, no, mate, I don't want to know. And they got off. And then I stayed there one more night and I was like, this isn't good, this. So I actually ended up sleeping in a power station, an outside power station. It was like a building, but it wasn't indoor. Like I had to climb over this fence, the big black fence. So I put my, the bolts that go into the ground, I'd stand on one of them and I'd jimmy up and I'd jump over. And depending where the wind was coming from, right, I would, because there was like these little walls. So I used to sleep behind the wall depending on where the wind was coming from. Wasn't ideal, was fucking super paranoid. You've got this, when you sleep in an outside power station, you've got this sort of electric fucking generating noise thing. I'm a light sleeper, really bad. Yeah. And in the daytime, like it was, so as the days went on and stuff like that, I didn't know. Like I just thought every hostel, you've got to be a druggie or a pisshead to get into these hostels. So I didn't really know. So I used to go to the library to try and do some research on the computer. I used to say to them, look, I've not got a library card, I've not got any ID. So they was like, right, no problem. So they used to set me up and everything like that. And at one point, I printed out a list of hostels, and I asked the lady laminated it for me, and I always kept that. I folded it down so it was a double-sided thing. So I just kept that on me at all times, laminated, because obviously the weather, which like if it was raining, I didn't want it to get piss wet through. And then what I used to do is like I used my money sparingly and stuff. I was buying sandwiches and drinks and stuff like that, like bottles of Coke and sandwiches and stuff. Anyway, as the time went on and the money started to dwindle and run out, right, what I actually had to resort to doing was, and this, I say this to my shame and to my detriment, right? Please don't judge me on this, right? What I did was I used to go, right, in Rochdale at Sudden, there's a Tesco. And what I used to do, money was like, I had no money, right? And I used to walk into the shop, right? I'd walk onto the shop floor. I'd go and find a towel. I'd get a toothbrush, some toothpaste, some soap, and some shower gel. I would walk into they had like a disabled toilet. I'd walk into the disabled toilet. I'd strip, start bollock naked in this little disabled sink, and because obviously I can't go into, I had to use the disabled toilet, because if I use the men's toilet, people might be coming in having a shit or a piss, and I'm there, start bollock naked. You can't do that. So I go into the disabled one. I'd lock, because you pull the handle up and it locks, right? And then what I'd do is I'd strip off. I'd just absolutely, I'm a clean person, right? So I'd strip off, I'd wipe myself down, I'd wash, clean my ass, clean my cock and balls, my foreskin, all my face, brush my teeth. And then what I used to do with the rubbish, right? Because obviously it was, if anyone clocked onto what I was doing, I'd get in trouble. Right? I didn't want to get in trouble. So what I used to do is the toothpaste carton, rather than putting it in the bin, right? Too obvious. So what I used to do, I used to get the soap, the shower gel, and I used to put my hand down the U-bend and flush the thing as I was pushing them up, so they'd fuck off, so you'd destroy the evidence, right? So the evidence would be gone. And then I used to freshen up, and I'd steal a deodorant as well, like a antiperspirant stuff. I wanted to smell nice at the end of the day. I know it sounds just stupid, but smell nice, you're fucking homeless. Yeah, and then I'd go back and I'd sleep in like power stations, or I'd get my head down here or there. Really, just a bad time. I tried a few hostels. Rehab 95 was one of them. And they was like, sorry, you've got to be referred to us by a drug or alcohol worker. There was a pattern emerging where it was like, you've got to be referred. You've got to have a caseworker or a support worker. And I was like, so because I don't take drugs and because I'm not an alcoholic, right, you can't help me. And he said, unfortunately, yeah. And it really made me bitter. That really did make me bitter. It came. I was homeless for months. Several months I was on the streets. I started to go to. I went to a few soup kitchens as well, but I just didn't feel comfortable being around other people. Like, because I didn't. The one thing that I'm extremely proud of, right? I'm not proud of any of this, but I'm proud of the fact I never turned to drugs. I never turned to drink. I've tried cannabis a few times. It doesn't agree with me. I don't like it. I used to smoke cigarettes in school, typical kid. But yeah, never turned to drugs, never turned to drink. I literally I had to deal with the hand that God gave me. But as every day went on and I was reaching out to hostels and trying to get help, right, my will to live, right? My will to live started to wane, and yeah, nobody wanted me. Nobody wanted me. I was useless. I was homeless. I had no skills. I had no education. I didn't have a GCSE to my name. That was me, and I was in this predicament that I didn't sit there and feel sorry for myself and be like, yeah, fucking hell, the world owes me a favour. It's just, I was just destined to have a shit life. So it became winter, right? And I was completely out of money at this point. So I used to go into the local library. And because like I said, when I was living in this power station, you're open to the elements and everything. Like, literally, it was fucking horrible. I really can't stress to you how horrible it was. I had a coat that wasn't waterproof. I used to just get piss wet through. When I had the money, when I originally was homeless, I used to go to a laundrette. I used to wash my clothes, dry my clothes. I tried to be clean as much as you can be clean. A lot of people that are homeless are obviously very unkept. They're very unclean. Not everybody. I did come across some clean ones, but most of them, unfortunately, it's a stereotype that a lot of people that are homeless are either alcoholics or drug addicts. I was neither. So yeah, what I used to do in the daytime, I used to go into the local library, right? And what I would do is I try and find a quiet corner, but it wasn't really a corner. The tables were always in a public area where there was a lot of picking people. So what I'd do is I'd open a book and I'd put the book on the table and I'd put my hand over this like I was looking at the book. But I'm a light sleeper. I would fall asleep on the book, right? And the thing is, when I'm falling into a deep sleep for some reason, I drew like a fucking dog, right? So I'd be like, so someone, a member of staff, I must have started snoring or something. I'm not even a snorer. Well, I don't think I am. And a member of staff would come and like, excuse me, you can't stay here. You got to move on, right? Like I said, I had stubble and everything. So again, they'd kick me out of there. Or I'd try to stay awake and I'd try to fall asleep again and say, sorry, can you move on? I wasn't one of these people that begged for money or anything like that. So how did I deal with food situation? So again, I go to different supermarkets. I go to the Asda. I go to the Morrisons. I go to the Tesco. I would do different ones. I didn't want to keep going back to the same store because obviously you get caught, you're going to get fucking nicked, aren't you? Shoplifting. Right, so what I used to do is, like, as the beard was like, well, it wasn't obviously like this, but I was unkept and everything. So what I would do is I would go into the supermarket, I'd pick up a basket, I'd pick up a razor, I'd pick up a shaving gel, toothbrush, toothpaste, shower gel or a bar of soap. And what I'd do, I'd also pick up like 2 sandwiches, a chocolate bar, some crisps, 2 bottles of Coke, right? So I didn't have loads of items in my basket, right? And I used to hang, right, for some reason the toilets, right, were either at the front, like near the front of the store, or they was halfway down the store, or they was at the arse end of the tills, right? So I used to have to be very clever and very inconspicuous, like trying to do what I was doing and not make it on top. So what I would do is I'd walk in to a disabled, again, always go for the disabled toilet. And what I'd do, I'd get my items out. So I'd have a wash, I'd quickly shave, I'd wash, start bullet naked, literally start bullet naked, just strip and change and wash. Literally, I stunk, man. Like my pits I was sweaty, I was fucking horrible, I was unkept, I was dirty. And it killed me. I felt like fucking filth, right? I was in the gutter, right? And there was no positives at all. I wasn't, out of pride, I wasn't going to reach out to beg my family for help and support. I was like, nah, man, this is me. This is meant to be my life. This is me. And at the start, I was incredibly strong, but I was losing the will to live, and my mental health was suffering. I was really in a bad way. So I'm in this toilet, I'm stripping down, I'm getting washed and everything. And I would sit on the floor. I'd sit on this floor, right, with tears in my eyes, right? And I'd be eating a sandwich, right? I'd be shoving this sandwich down my throat, right? I'd have 2 sandwiches. Like I used to love all day breakfasts. Like one of them would be like bacon, sausage, and egg. You'd have like a sausage and brown sauce one, and like sausage and egg or something, or fucking bacon and egg or something. And I used to sit there, and I honest to God, you know, like when gannet eats very fast and can swallow a lot of food. That's what I was like in this fucking toilet. And I'm chugging this bottle of Coke, and I'm chugging this bottle of Coke. And then literally, after I'd finished the bottle of Coke, I'd suck the air out of the thing, put the lid on, bend it, and then I'd just shove all the rubbish up the U-bend. If I put all that rubbish in that bin, right, in the bin that they've got there, or the sanitary towel bin, and security stopped me and they're waiting outside the door, and they come in, right, it never happened, right, I just switched on. But if they would have come in, and they're like, right, we've got you on CCTV, you've walked in here, you've put, there's your rubbish, that's you, blah blah blah. Obviously I would have took the charge and everything like that, but I didn't want to get caught. So I used to, like I said, I used to go to different supermarkets. I used to just take different turns and everything, things like that. But yeah, it was fucking soul destroying, really was. And again, it was the same routine, trying to get help, trying to get citizens' advice. Now, at the time, I didn't know that because I'd been in the army, that could help me. I didn't know this, right? So I didn't really mention this. I was just like, oh, I'm homeless. This is my situation. I just thought this was the hand that God gave me. So I just carried on. And then one day, and this process went on for days, weeks, months, right? And like I said, there became a point where I bumped into an old school friend, and I told him about my situation, everything. He's like, oh, you can stay with us. And I was like, no. I don't burden my own family. I'm not going to burden yours. But he gave me some money. And I hit rock bottom. And obviously I didn't have a mobile phone or anything like that to stay in touch with this lad. I just carried on. I had some money, and I was in this like outside power station thingy, and that was my little security blanket. That was like my home, if you will. And it'd been pissing it down day after day, night after night. And like I said, my coat wasn't waterproof, and I was getting like flu. I had like flu. I was wet to the bone. And this night, I'd come to I wanted to die. It was the end for me. Not being dramatic or anything. I'd had enough. I'd survived longer than I thought I could. I've been homeless for several months, and I was like, there's no end in sight here. I'm ringing hostels. They're telling me that I've got to be drug or alcohol dependent, or get referred via a social worker or a care worker or a support worker. And I'm thinking, like, all because I'm not digging myself with drugs or alcohol. So anyway, this night I hit rock bottom, and the end was, I just wanted to go on. I just wanted to try and find some fucking length of rope from somewhere and do the world a favour and hang myself. And it was there. But for some reason, I'd gone through my pockets, and I found this laminated list of numbers for hostels. Right, some of them I crossed off. Like I said, I just, like a marker pen, just mark it in a library or something. Say, have you got a marker? I'm just line it. They're not going to help me, they're not going to help me. And there was a couple of numbers left on this list I'd never tried, because obviously when you've tried 10, 15 numbers and you've got the same response, you're going to expect the same for the others. I had a couple of quid in change. And I've gone to the phone box on the opposite side of the on the road. If I climbed over the gate, there's a road, and then there's a phone box. There's some bushes, and then there's a phone box like halfway in the bush. So I've gone to pissing it down, and I put the first pound in, and I got through to this number, because obviously they're manned 24 hours a day, because obviously people coming in and out, you've got to have someone there 24/7. And they answered, and he was like, I'm sorry, we can't help you. Right. And the thing is, they didn't give me any change, right? The machine didn't give me any change. I had 2 quid left. There was another number below it. Put a pound in. The pound fell through. Put it in again, it stayed in. Rang them. I'm sorry, we're full. We can't help you. I'm literally, at this point, I've got tears in my eyes. I'm standing at this phone box. It's not even a post, it's not even a phone box. I'm not encased. It's literally, the elements are pissing down on me. I've got, my nose is running because I'm crying and I've got fucking flu-like symptoms, right? I was like, I literally thought everything that I've been through in my life and this, and I'm going to top myself, and this is going to be my life, and then it's going to be over. And then I put this pound in to ring this number. This number was for Leopold Court in Rochdale. And I put the pound in, and the pound drops through. And I was like, this isn't meant to be this. Just take your life. No one cares. Put something moving on my gravestone like a slug or a snail. I put the pound in. The pound dropped straight through. And I was like, this isn't meant to be. Right? I put the pound in. The pound drops through again. You know when you put money in and it just drops through? That was my predicament. Put a pound in again. Drops through. I rub it on the machine, the metal, and I'm saying to myself, this isn't meant to be. I put the pound in. The pound stayed in. The phone rings. A lady answered. And I was crying my eyes out, and I just explained to her, I said, look, I said, I'm homeless. I've been homeless for months. I'm soaked to the bone. I'm ready to give in. And she actually said, I can't offer you a room. She said, but if you can get here, you can sleep in the TV room on one of the couches, but you'll have to be gone in the morning. Right, now it's a few miles from where I was. I had no more money left. I probably had some like 10, 15, 20p or something like that. Nothing. Like under 50p I probably had. And she said, if you can get here, you can stay on the couch tonight. So cut a long story short, I put the phone down. I put my bag on my shoulder. Piss wet through. Walked all the way to Leopold Court. It's a few miles. I got there like, I don't know, 2, 3 in the morning. And the ladies are like talking to me in the office. They made me a cup of coffee and they was talking to me. And he said, well, so what drugs do you take? And I said, none. And he said, well, how much you drink? I said, I don't drink, because I don't drink. I'm not really a big drinker. She went, so you don't do drugs, you don't drink. She said, no disrespect to the people that live here, but a lot of them, 95% of them, 99% of them, are drug and alcohol dependent. And I said, well, I'm not. And I said, I won't be either. I said, I need to survive this situation. And I said, alcohol and drugs are not going to help me. And I'm not looking down my nose at anyone that takes drink or drugs. People that normally take drink or drugs are trying to self-medicate for horrendous things that have happened in their life. Alcohol addiction, drug addiction is not a laughing matter. And this lady was like, she take putty on me, right? And I was just a mess. I was an absolute mess. Psychologically, I was weak at that time. Physically, I was malnourished. I was I had lost weight. I was very fragile, and I was hanging on to life, really fucking hanging on. And that night, I needed to know that somebody cared, even though it was a stranger. And this lady was like, these two ladies were like, the lady said, you can stay with me. I said, no, sweetheart. I said, I don't know you. I said, it's cool. I said, it is what it is. They got me some food. And then I went into this TV room. Everyone was asleep in all the beds and stuff. I can't remember how many beds it was. But yeah, so I've gone and they put me on this TV thing. And they said, before you lie down on the couch, check the cushions, because some of the residents have got habits of putting needles in cushions if they've got a problem with other people. And some of them are HIV. I thought, you know what, I'll fucking take it. So she checked the couch and everything. I fell asleep. Between falling asleep and waking up in the morning, I was woken up by a male member of staff, and I was like, I'm a light sleeper, but I was in a deep sleep, and I woke up, and I was like, because I was startled, and I was like quite jumpy, and he was like, listen, he said, come into the office. I said, listen, I said, it's all right, mate, I'll get my bag and I'll be gone. I said, thanks to them two ladies, whoever they was. And they said, oh, they've gone now. So I've gone into the office, and he said, right, between you falling asleep last night and this morning, there was an incident with a resident who was on his third strike. He's been arrested by the police and we've kicked him out. The ladies want you to have his room. They've deep cleaned it. One of them nipped to Asda to get you some toiletries and some bits. They've taken the drug bin out of the room. It's a single room. Do you want it? I thought they was pulling my leg. Right? I broke down crying. I'm not ashamed to say it. I broke down crying. They give me a key for my little room. I walked into this room. I closed the door. I locked it. It had one of them turn, not lock things with it. You turn it. I sat in the corner of the room. I cried my eyes out. I slept for the next probably 15 hours. Those two ladies saved my life. If those ladies that night would have said, I'm sorry, we can't help you, I would have found the nearest glass bottle, smashed it, and severed an artery in my neck, my jugular, my carotid artery, my femoral artery in my leg. I would have done myself in. And the thing is, that wasn't the end of it. I was then living with alcoholics and drug addicts. I nearly got evicted from this place because one of the lads, I love old people. I've got an affinity with old people. I've got a lot of respect for old people. After I've been there a few months and everything, they put you down on the housing and they try and help you. They get your benefits sorted, things like that, right? One of the lads was flashing the cash. I said, where do you get that from? And his exact words were something along the lines of, oh, I mugged an old dear or I mugged an old lady, right? I followed him into his room and I attacked him. Not because I'm a hero or Johnny Concrete. I just took exception to it. Scumbags robbing people for fucking drug addiction or alcohol addiction. And like I said, alcohol addiction and drug addictions are not laughing matters. And my heart goes out to a lot of these people. I used to be in the mindset that if you're an alcoholic or a drug addict, right, it's a choice. You choose to take those things. Not true. My sister is an alcoholic. My real dad is an alcoholic, right? I know about, like I said, I was involved to my shame and to my detriment after going through this process and being homeless and living on the streets and fucking fighting to survive and then living in a homeless hostel. That was it. That was another challenge, but I had a roof over my head, man. I felt like the fucking richest man in the world. And do you know what ended up happening, right? After being in there for about 11 months, right? 8 months, 9 months, 10 months, right? I ended up getting a flat. I got offered a flat on Waithlands Road, 22A, Waithlands Road, Rochdale. Some postcodes like OL16. I can't remember the last three. But they was like, yep, they've offered you this flat. Go and view it. And after 11 months of being surrounded by these drug and alcoholics, right? Like I said, I don't look down my nose at them, but they just wasn't my sort of people. Right? I literally wanted to get on courses with a job centre so I could better myself. I ended up doing my security qualification like I said, off my own back. While the job centre helped me. Then they put me in contact. I got my, it wasn't the SIA at the time. It was SIA. It was SIA. So I ended up getting my badge through the job centre. I then got on contact with a company I obviously got offered this flat, and I used that off my own back, guys. No one's going to give you anything, right? And I got the flat. I didn't have anything to put in this flat. And then what I did, I turned up at my mum's. My mum gave me some roll ends of carpet. She gave me like a fold-out single bed, an old TV cabinet, and a little tiny TV. She got me a kettle, a cheap toaster, and a cheap fridge. And that was what was in my flat. Most of my flat was bare for a very long time. But I got a job. I worked my way up. I was doing the doors. I was working security. Then I got involved with crime again, and I became involved with the heroin and drug trade. I say that to my shame because I've just alluded to drug and alcoholics. I then went on to be involved with the crack and heroin trade, which I'm ashamed of. But I needed the money, and I was trying to distance myself from the hardship that I'd come through. And I'm very ashamed of having to shoplift to feed myself. I wasn't stealing to feed a drug habit. I wasn't stealing to feed an alcohol habit. I wasn't stealing alcohol or drugs or mugging people or begging. It sounds stupid because I was stealing, but I didn't want to beg for money. I don't know if it's male pride or whatever, but I didn't want to sit and like with a cup, some change please. I didn't want to do that because I know that society would look and think, oh, buying drugs or alcohol. I just wanted food. That's all I needed to survive, food and everything. So once I got into that flat and everything, and I literally did it up, and I got into a relationship. Sorry, I just knocked the table. I got into a relationship and everything else, and it just went from there. I ended up being homeless again many years down the line. That wasn't my fault. I was working at the Printworks in Manchester doing security. One of the bar managers, general managers, said his deputy manager was also looking for an apartment. I was looking for an apartment. I give him half the bond, half the deposit, and he said, yeah, no problem. Right? I said, when we're viewing it, he sent me some pictures. He said, oh, I viewed it last minute, right? So then I was chatting to one of his barmaids, and I said, where's Gavin? She went, oh, he's moving into your apartment. I was like, well, I've not got a key. What do you mean? What he did, he took half the bond, half the deposit, half the half the admin fee up front from me. So when you give half and half, you're supposed to be 50-50, aren't you? The scumbag, what he did was he signed for the tenancy behind my back, put his name on it, and then I lived there, and I had to give half, and then he was lending money off me and everything like that. And then months and months down the line, he turned around and said, oh, my sister's going to be homeless. You've got 3.5 weeks to find somewhere to live. I was homeless. And it was an army charity called Safa that got me. They rang me, and I was desperate. Right? I was literally, this Gavin was telling his bouncers on the door at Norwegian Blue that they was going to be evicting me. Right? And I was like a psychopath. I wanted to kill this guy. Right? And I went and met Safa. I had 48 hours to find somewhere to live before I was going to be homeless. And Safa said, come down. And they said, right, go into Manchester, find somewhere you can afford. We'll pay your first month's rent, you'll pay your bond, your deposit, and your admin fee. Go. I went, I found an apartment in Tempest Tower at the back of the Manchester Evening News Arena on Mirabell Street. And literally, they paid a quick admin fee, they paid extra. They did it in 24 hours, and the day I was supposed to leave was the day I got the key for the apartment, and I moved in there. And then after that, I was homeless after a relationship broke down. I moved from a relationship in Gorton to Ramsbottom, and this girl was cheating on me, and she was playing behind my back, and she ended up, everything was in her name, and she kicked me out, and I was homeless. And then it was the Royal British Legion that helped me with the apartment, and it was Safa that helped me get housed after that. Safa and the Royal British Legion are military charities and stuff. They go to regimental associations and everything. As long as you've read books in order, they'll help you. That's exactly what happened. But yeah, guys, this was my journey of being homeless. I'm sorry that it's taken 40 minutes of your life. I'm not expecting everybody to watch it. it's a very shameful thing. It was a very embarrassing thing. It was the darkest time in my life. It was the nearest time I've ever come to rolling over and dying. But having been through that, what it taught me, I am indestructible, undestructible, whatever it's called. There's not a situation in the world that I cannot survive. I've survived this long. I'm 36. I've lived the life of someone 3 times older than me. None of these things that you've just heard are bragging. It's quite embarrassing, quite shameful. Shoplifting to feed yourself needs must, guys. If you're going to judge me, feel free. But again, I did what I had to do, right? I didn't have friends. I didn't have a support network. I didn't have X amount of money. I was fucked. I was on my ass. I was proud. I didn't want to burden anyone. I didn't want to swallow my macho pride and my thing and go to my mum and beg my mum and say, "Mum, I can't, I'm fucked," and stuff like that. I didn't see my mum for 4 years. And in that 4 years, a lot went on. And when I eventually got that flat, she helped me. And I use it as a springboard. And like I said, I got my security qualification and I did it all off my own back. Nobody helped me. I had to do it myself. Anyway, guys, I'm going to leave it here. I've waffled on for far too long. The time is probably like 3:30 in the morning now. I'm very grateful for everyone's comments, subscriptions. Can't get my word down. Let me know what you think about the video. Judgmental, up to you guys. Like I said, what would you do in that situation? And like I said, I've only touched base. There's a lot more to it, but I'll just give you the bare essentials, and we're still taking us nearly 42 minutes. I'm going to leave it there, guys. Like, comment, subscribe. Cody out.